The human fleet waited in perfect formation around the asteroid base. 400 ships holding position, weapons ready but holding fire. Inside each vessel, humans watched their displays and waited for the signal. Commander Tajin stood on the bridge of his command ship, Sergeant Bora beside him with her Marines ready to deploy. Teacher Somin stood with them, clutching a warm blanket she had brought specifically for Minho. 2 hours until the deadline, Lieutenant Hana reported. Then the sensors detected something. The main hangar door of the asteroid base was opening. All ships hold fire, Tajin ordered immediately. Hold your fire. A single figure emerged from the hangar holding a large white cloth attached to a pole. It was Captain Thexler. Behind him, escorted by Thrix and 2 other pirates, walked Minho. The small boy looked tiny against the massive asteroid and the enormous ships surrounding it. But he walked steadily, his head up, looking around at the human fleet with wonder. Launch the retrieval shuttle, Tajin ordered. Somin, you're with me. The shuttle launched and crossed the distance quickly. It landed in the open hangar and Tajin stepped out first, followed by Sergeant Bora and her Marines with Somin close behind. Captain Thexlar stood tall despite his fear. He looked at the human commander and spoke through his translator. The child is unharmed. We return him freely. We ask only that you let us live. Tajin ignored the pirate captain for the moment. His eyes found Minho and he walked directly to the boy. Somin moved past him and knelt down to Minho's eye level. Hello, Minho, she said gently. My name is Somin, I'm a teacher. Are you hurt anywhere? Minho shook his head. No, ma'am. They gave me food and water. They didn't hurt me. Somin wrapped the blanket around his shoulders and gave him a gentle smile. You've been very brave. Your parents are waiting for you. They've been so worried. I know, Minho said. But I knew everyone would come. Sergeant Bora approached and did a quick medical scan of the boy. She nodded to Tajin. He's healthy. No injuries. Good vital signs. Only then did Commander Tajin turn to face Captain Thexlar. The pirate captain expected anger or threats. Instead, Tajin's expression was carefully controlled. You made a mistake, Tajin said quietly. You didn't understand what you were doing when you took a human child. But you figured it out. You chose to return him unharmed. That decision saved your life and the lives of your crew. What happens to us now? Thexler asked. The Intergalactic Council will want to try you for piracy and abduction. We'll allow that. But I want you to understand something very clearly. Tajin stepped closer. If you had hurt this child, if you had made any different choice, none of your crew would have survived this day. Tell everyone you meet, humans protect their children. All of them. Always. Forever. There is no distance we won't cross. No price we won't pay. No force that will stop us. Thexler nodded slowly. I understand now. I will tell them. Minho walked over to Thrix, who looked down at the small human with sad eyes. Thank you for being kind to me, Minho said. I hope you get to see your siblings soon. Thrix couldn't speak. He just nodded. The shuttle lifted off with Minho safely inside. As it flew back to the command ship, the boy pressed his face against the window and looked at the fleet surrounding him. Hundreds of ships, thousands of humans, all of them had come for him. Aboard the command ship, Lieutenant Hana had already opened a channel to Minho's parents. When the shuttle docked, Tajin carried Minho to the communications room. On the screen, Daeho and Jiwan appeared. For a moment, everyone was silent. Then Jiwan sobbed and reached toward the screen as if she could touch her son through it. Minho, she cried. Oh, my baby. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad, Minho said, tears finally flowing down his face. I knew you'd come. I always knew. We're coming to get you right now, Daeho said, his voice thick with emotion. We're on our way to the fleet. We'll be there in a few hours. The reunion would have to wait a little longer, but it was coming. Commander Tajin left Minho with Somin and returned to the bridge. The fleet needed to be stood down, reports needed to be filed, and the pirates needed to be transferred to council custody. But first, he sent out a message to every human ship in the fleet. Mission accomplished. Minho is safe. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for showing the galaxy who we are. The response was immediate. Across 400 ships, humans celebrated. Some cried with relief. Some cheered. Some just smiled and began the journey back to their interrupted lives. When the news reached human colonies throughout the sector, the response was similar. People celebrated in the streets. Parents hugged their children tighter, and everyone understood that they had just participated in something important. At the Intergalactic Council, Ambassador Young-ho addressed the assembled representatives one final time regarding the incident. "We want to propose a new law," he said. "Protection for children of all species. Real protection. Any species that abducts or harms a child of any other species will face immediate authorization for rescue operations, with proportional force permitted. We'll call them the Minho Protocols." The council debated for 3 days. In the end, they agreed. The law was established. Some species voted for it because they understood the principle. Some voted for it because they were afraid of what humans might do if they refused. But either way, it passed. 6 months later, Minho stood in the fields of his family's farm on the colony world. The crops were growing well. His little sister played nearby while their parents worked. Life had returned to normal mostly. A reporter from the Galactic News Network had asked to interview him. His parents agreed as long as it was brief and Minho felt comfortable. "Minho, you've become famous across the galaxy," the reporter said. "How does that feel?" "Strange," Minho admitted. "I didn't do anything special. I was just waiting for my family." "What do you want to do when you grow up?" Minho thought about this carefully. He remembered Thrix and the other pirates. He remembered how scared they were. He remembered how humans and aliens could misunderstand each other so easily. "I want to help people understand each other better," he said. "I think the pirates didn't really want to hurt anyone. They just didn't understand what taking a human child meant. And humans didn't understand why the pirates did it. Maybe if we all understood each other better, bad things wouldn't happen as much." The reporter was surprised by this answer from an 8-year-old. "You're a very wise child." "My dad says wisdom comes from listening," Minho replied. The interview ended and Minho returned to playing with his sister. Life went on, but across the galaxy things had changed. In the abandoned pirate base, someone had carved a message on the wall in Vraxian script. It was quickly photographed and shared across all species networks. "We stole a human child. We learned what humans are. Never again. Warn everyone." Below it, a human who visited later added their own message in simple galactic common. "We forgive, but we never forget. Keep our children safe and we'll keep yours safe too." Other species began to understand something fundamental about humanity. Yes, they were newcomers to the galaxy. Yes, they had smaller territory and fewer resources than the older civilizations. But they had something else. Something that made them dangerous to threaten but valuable as allies. They were a tribe. A massive planet-spanning colony-crossing tribe. And they took care of their own. The Zentari elder wrote a report that was studied in diplomatic schools across the galaxy for generations. In it, he explained the lesson that the galaxy had learned. Humanity showed us that some things matter more than individual survival. They showed us that bonds between people can be stronger than fear of death. They showed us that a species united by love for their children is a species that cannot be intimidated or broken. We would be wise to earn their friendship and foolish to earn their anger. Commander Taejin returned to his regular duties, but he kept a picture on his desk. It showed Minho reuniting with his parents at the fleet station. The boy was wrapped in his father's arms while his mother held them both, all 3 of them crying with joy. Whenever Taejin had a difficult decision to make, he looked at that picture. It reminded him why he served, why they all served, to protect the tribe. Years later, when Minho was grown, he did become a bridge between species. He worked as a diplomat, helping aliens and humans understand each other. He was good at it because he remembered what it felt like to be scared and alone, but also what it felt like to be protected by thousands of people he had never met. And whenever he told his story, he always ended it the same way. The galaxy learned that day that humans will do anything for their children. But what I learned was even more important. I learned that I was never alone, that none of us are. We're all part of something bigger, and that's the greatest strength any species can have. The story of Minho became a legend. Parents told it to their children. Diplomats studied it in their training. Military strategists analyzed it in their classes. And across the galaxy, one rule became absolutely clear. Never ever steal a human child. Because if you do, you won't just face soldiers or ships. You'll face an entire species united by one simple truth. We protect our own always, no matter what. And that's a force nothing in the galaxy can stop. The message from Minho spread through the human fleet like electricity. Parents watched it with their children. Soldiers watched it in their ready rooms. Civilians watched it on their private vessels. Every human saw the same thing. a brave child trying to protect everyone, even his captors. On the command ship, a civilian volunteer named Soman arrived. She was a teacher from one of the colonies, and she had asked specifically to be part of the rescue operation. Commander Tajin met with her personally. "Why are you here?" he asked, not unkindly. "Because I teach children Minho's age," Soman said. "Because when you bring him out, he'll need to see a familiar face. Someone calm, someone who reminds him of normal life. I volunteer to be that person." Tajin studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Approved. You'll go in with the first wave." Inside the pirate base, the atmosphere had changed completely. The crew members were arguing among themselves. Half wanted to fight, half wanted to surrender. All of them were frightened. Thrix sat with Minho during the evening meal. The young pirate had barely touched his food. "Are they really going to attack?" Thrix asked quietly. "Probably," Minho said. "Unless you give me back first. Why? Why would so many come for just one person?" Minho thought about how to explain it. "My teacher once told us about Earth history. A long time ago, humans lived in small groups called tribes. If someone from the tribe was taken, everyone went to get them back. It didn't matter if it was dangerous. It didn't matter the cost. Because if you didn't protect your tribe members, the tribe couldn't survive." "But you're not tribes anymore," Thrix said. "You have planets, colonies, millions of people." "We're still a tribe," Minho said simply. "Just a really big one. And I'm part of it. So are you part of your tribe?" Thrix nodded slowly. "My family. My siblings. Then you understand. If something happened to them, wouldn't you do anything to help them?" The young pirate didn't answer, but his expression showed that he understood completely. Captain Thexlar called his crew together. The time had come to make a decision. Through the base's sensors, they could see human ships everywhere. The fleet had grown to nearly 400 vessels. "We need to decide now," Thexlar said to his crew. "We can fight, we can run, or we can surrender." "Fight," one crew member said incredulously. "Against 400 ships? We'd be destroyed in minutes. Run where?" Another asked. "They've blocked every exit, every jump point, every asteroid cluster large enough to hide in." Krell, the veteran pirate, spoke up. "Captain, I've been alive a long time. I've raided many species, but I've never seen anything like this. They're not here for treasure or territory. They're here for one thing only. Give them what they want." "We'll lose our reputation," another pirate protested. "The other crews will call us cowards." "Better than being dead," Krell replied. Thexlar looked around at his crew. He saw fear on their faces. These were hardened pirates who had fought many battles, but this was different. This wasn't about combat skills or superior weapons. This was about facing an entire species that had decided your fate. "Let me talk to the child again," Thexlar said finally. He found Minho drawing more pictures on scraps of material. The boy had created an entire series of drawings showing his family, his home, and his journey. "Child," Thexlar said, sitting down heavily, "why do your people care so much? You're just one small being among billions." Minho looked up at him. "Have you ever been part of something bigger than yourself?" "I don't understand. When I was 6, I got lost in a big market on our colony. I was scared. I didn't know where my parents were. But when people realized I was lost, dozens of them stopped what they were doing. They helped me. They searched with me. We found my parents in about 20 minutes, but in that time I learned something." "What?" "That I'm never really alone. That's what being human means. We're all connected, all of us. When one of us needs help, the others respond. It's not about being special or important. It's about being part of the family." Thexlar stood up and walked to the door, then paused. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I thought humans were like other species. I thought you'd just pay and we'd move on." "Most species probably would," Minho said, "but we're not most species. You made a mistake, but you can fix it. You can give me back and everyone lives. That seems like a good choice to me." The pirate captain left without responding, but Minho's words echoed in his mind. At the Intergalactic Council, a special session was being held. The Zentari Elder, one of the oldest beings in the galaxy, addressed the assembly with grave concern. "Representatives, we need to establish something clearly," the Elder said, his ancient voice carrying weight. "The humans are not posturing. They are not exaggerating. I have reviewed their entire history, every war, every conflict, every crisis, and I have found a consistent pattern." The council chamber fell silent. "Humans are a predator species, yes, But they evolved with strong social bonds. They had to cooperate to survive. Over thousands of years, they developed protective instincts that extended beyond biological offspring to include all members of their social groups. When we integrated them into the galactic community, we thought these instincts would fade. We were wrong, Ambassador Kix then interrupted. But surely they must understand that one individual cannot be worth risking war. To them it is, the Zentari elder said, because allowing one child to be taken and not responding would mean admitting that their bonds mean nothing. It would break something fundamental in their culture. They would rather fight and lose than abandon one of their own. We need to understand this is not a negotiation. This is a statement of who they are. Another representative spoke up. So what do? We let them get their child back, the elder said simply. And then we establish new protocols. Because if we don't, the next species that takes a human child will face the same response. And next time, someone will make the mistake of fighting back. Commander Tejan received a priority message from the council. They were formally requesting that he give the pirates more time to surrender peacefully. He read the message and deleted it. Send our final warning, he ordered Lieutenant Hanna. They have 6 hours. After that, we're going in. The message reached the pirate base. Captain Thexlar read it and felt his hands shake. 6 hours. He looked around at his crew, at his base, at everything he had built over years of piracy. Then he thought about Minho's face. That calm, understanding expression. That child trying to save them even though they had taken him from his family. Krell, he said quietly. Prepare a white banner. A large one, Captain. Krell said, surprised. You were right. Better to be alive and called a coward than dead and called brave. We're giving the child back. Throughout the base, the crew reacted with mixed emotions. Relief, shame, fear, but mostly relief. Thrix went to Minho's cell. We're returning you, he said. Minho stood up and smiled. It was the first genuine smile Thrix had seen from him. Thank you. That's a good choice. Your families will be happy you're coming home. How do you know we'll survive this? Because humans don't kill people who surrender, Minho said. We're not perfect, but we try to be fair. You didn't hurt me. You fed me. You talked with me. That matters. The young pirate felt something break inside him. This child, this small human, had more wisdom than he did, had more compassion, had more understanding of what really mattered. I'm sorry, Thrix said quietly. I know, Minho replied. I forgive you. 3 days passed in the asteroid base, and Minho established a strange routine with his captors. Each morning, Thrix brought him food and water. Minho always thanked him. Sometimes they talked. Do you have a family? Minho asked one morning. Thrix was surprised by the question. Yes, I have 3 siblings. They live on our home world. Do you miss them? Sometimes, Thrix admitted. He didn't know why he was talking to the hostage. But there's no work there. I send money home to help them. Minho nodded thoughtfully. My dad says sometimes we do hard things to take care of the people we love. The young pirate found himself feeling guilty. This child was someone's family too, someone who was probably very worried right now. In another part of the base, Captain Thexlar was having serious problems. His communications officer had been monitoring the approaching human fleet, and the numbers kept growing. They now showed over 300 human vessels converging on their sector of space. Captain, they're spreading out, the officer reported. They're covering every possible escape route. It's like they're building a net around us. Impossible, Thexlar growled. This sector is huge. They can't cover everything. But the sensor displays showed otherwise. Human ships were positioning themselves at every major jump point, every asteroid cluster, every possible hiding spot. Civilian vessels were working alongside military craft with surprising coordination. One of his crew members, a veteran pirate named Krell, spoke up nervously. Captain, I've been asking around, talking to other crews on the encrypted channels. They say humans have done this before. When their people are taken, they don't stop. They don't negotiate. They just come. That's impossible, Thexlar repeated, but he sounded less certain. There's a story, Krell continued. 5 years ago, some slavers took a group of human colonists. 20 adults, no children. The humans tracked them across 3 sectors. It took them 6 months, but they found them. They destroyed the slaver operation completely. Every ship, every base, everyone involved. They left no one alive except the hostages. Thexlar felt his skin grow cold. We haven't hurt the child. We're just asking for money. Does that matter to them? Krell asked. At the Intergalactic Council, the situation was becoming more tense. Multiple species were demanding that the humans stand down. They argued that this kind of military mobilization violated dozens of treaties and created a dangerous precedent. Ambassador Young-Ho stood at the center of the council chamber, surrounded by angry representatives. "You must control your species," Ambassador Kix then insisted. "This aggressive behavior cannot be tolerated. You're threatening the stability of this entire sector." "We're not threatening anyone," Young-Ho replied calmly. "We simply want our child back. Give us Minho, and all of our ships will return home immediately." "It's not that simple," a reptilian ambassador hissed. "The pirates are protected under salvage laws. There are procedures for hostage situations. You can't just take military action." Young-Ho's expression hardened. "Watch us." "This is unacceptable," another ambassador shouted. "You're a young species. You don't have the right to dictate terms to the rest of us." "We're not dictating terms," Young-Ho said quietly. "We're explaining reality. We will get our child back. The only question is whether we do it peacefully or not. That choice belongs to the pirates and to you." A Zix representative, an insectoid creature with compound eyes and delicate antennae, spoke up in a clicking voice. "I've been studying human history and psychology. I believe the humans are being truthful about their intentions. They have a strong protective instinct toward their young, extremely strong. Across all their cultures, regardless of their many differences, this trait is universal. All species protect their young," Kix then said dismissively. "Not like this," the Zix replied. "Humans extend this protection beyond biological offspring. They protect young that aren't related to them. They risk their lives for children they've never met. I found records of humans running into burning buildings to save children, drowning while saving children from water, fighting predators to protect children, and these weren't always their own offspring." The council chamber fell silent as the representatives processed this information. "They're a predator species with pack bonding behavior," the Zix continued, "but their pack includes all human children everywhere. This isn't about one family. This is about their entire species responding to a threat against one of their young. We need to understand that we're not dealing with normal diplomatic situations here." Back on the human command ship, Sergeant Bora was briefing her Marine teams. Over 500 Marines had volunteered for the rescue operation. She had to turn many away because they simply didn't have enough space on the assault ships. "Listen carefully," she told her teams. "Our priority is getting Minho out safely. Everything else is secondary. We go in fast, we secure the child, we leave. If the pirates surrender, we take them alive. If they resist, we do what we need to do." A young Marine raised his hand. "Sergeant, what if they threaten to hurt the kid if we don't back off?" Bora's expression became stone. "Then we move faster. These pirates need to understand something. There is no scenario where they win. There is no outcome where they keep that child. The only choice they have is whether they survive this or not." Lieutenant Hana approached Commander Tajin with new information. "Sir, we've intercepted communications from the pirate base. They're definitely getting nervous. Their sensors show them surrounded." "Good," Tajin said. "Send them another message. Let them know they have 24 hours left." The message was transmitted. Inside the asteroid base, Captain Thexler read it and felt his hand shake. The humans weren't bluffing. They were really out there, really surrounding him, really willing to fight over one child. He went to see Minho again. The boy was teaching Thrix a human card game using pieces of torn paper. They were laughing together. The sight made Thexlar feel sick. "Child," he said harshly. "Come with me." Minho stood up calmly and followed. Thexler took him to a communications room and sat him down in front of a camera. "You're going to tell your people that you're safe," Thexler ordered. "Tell them not to attack. Tell them we'll release you once they pay." Minho looked at the camera, then at the pirate captain. "Will you hurt them if I don't?" "What?" "No, I just want them to know you're alive." "Okay," Minho said. "I'll tell them." The camera activated. Minho looked directly into it with his young face serious and calm. "Mom, Dad, I'm okay. They're feeding me and giving me water. They haven't hurt me. But I need you to know something." He paused. "You need to come get me now. These pirates don't understand. They don't know what they did. Please come before someone gets hurt." Thexlar stopped the recording. "That's not what I told you to say." "I know," Minho said. "But it's the truth. You took me because you thought humans were easy targets. But we're not. We're really not, especially when it comes to kids. The pirate captain stared at this small human who spoke with such certainty. You're just a child. What do you know about any of this? I know my people, Minho said simply. I know that right now there are hundreds of humans out there who don't even know me, but they're ready to fight for me. That's just how we are. Texlar sent the message anyway. When it reached the human fleet, it was broadcast across all the ships. Thousands of humans saw Minho's face, heard his words, and their resolve hardened even more. Commander Taejin watched the video with Lieutenant Hana beside him. He's trying to warn them, Hana said softly. That brave little boy is trying to save his captors. He's a good kid, Taejin agreed. His parents raised him well. That's why we're going to bring him home. The fleet moved closer, the net tightened, and in his cell, Minho waited patiently because he believed with absolute certainty in one simple truth that every human child was taught from birth. We protect our own. Always. No matter what. The whole galaxy was about to learn that lesson. The pirate ship arrived at their hidden base deep in an asteroid field. Captain Texlar felt satisfied with himself as they docked. The base was carved into a massive asteroid, completely hidden from normal scanners. His crew had used this hideout for years without any problems. Minho was led through dark corridors that smelled of oil and strange spices. The pirates around him talked in their clicking language, sometimes glancing at him with their multiple eyes. He tried to stay calm like his father taught him. Be observant. Remember everything. Stay strong. They brought him to a larger room with several chairs and a table. It looked like a place where the crew ate their meals. One of the pirates, younger than the others, pushed a tray of food toward him. It looked strange, nothing like human food, but Minho was hungry. Can I have water? He asked politely. The young pirate, whose name was Thrix, seemed surprised by the request. He brought a container of water. Minho drank it slowly, then looked at the food. He picked up something that looked like a vegetable and took a small bite. It tasted bitter but not terrible. Thank you, Minho said to Thrix. The pirate stared at him. In all his years of piracy, hostages usually screamed or cried or begged. This small human just said thank you. It confused him. Captain Texlar watched from the doorway. Something felt wrong, though he couldn't identify what. The child was too calm, too accepting. It made him uneasy. Send the ransom demand, he ordered his communications officer. Ask for a reasonable amount. We want them to pay quickly. Meanwhile, back in human space, Commander Taejin's fleet had grown to over 200 ships. His command vessel, the Defender, served as the center of operations. Lieutenant Hana worked at her station, coordinating the incoming vessels and organizing them into functional groups. Commander, we're receiving complaints from the Intergalactic Council, she reported. They say we're violating several treaties by mobilizing this many ships without their approval. Note their complaints, Taejin said without looking up from his tactical display. Continue operations. The truth was that Taejin had already identified the pirate ship's trajectory. Humanity's deep space monitoring network, a secret system of thousands of tiny satellites, had tracked the Vraxian vessel from the moment it left the transport ship. The other species in the galaxy didn't know about this network. Humans had learned long ago that being watched was better than being surprised. Sergeant Bora entered the command center. She was a Marine, tough and experienced, with scars from previous battles. She had been reviewing the boarding plans with her teams. Sir, my Marines are ready, she said. We can breach that asteroid base in under 10 minutes once we arrive. Good, Taejin replied. But we give them every chance to surrender first. If they return Minho unharmed, we let them live. If they harm him, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to, Bora nodded. She had 2 children of her own back on the home colonies. She understood completely. Across the fleet, similar conversations were happening. Parents talked to other parents. People who had never met before worked together with perfect coordination because they shared one goal. Every human in the fleet knew someone with children. Every human understood what was at stake. At the Intergalactic Council headquarters, Ambassador Young-ho stood before the assembled representatives of 200 species. The chamber was enormous, with each species having their own section designed for their specific needs. Some breathed different atmospheres. Some existed partially in different dimensions, but they all watched the human ambassador with varying degrees of concern. Council Ambassador Kix then, a tall, elegant centaurian with blue skin and 4 graceful arms, addressed Young Ho directly. "Ambassador, your species is creating a dangerous situation," Kix then said, his voice melodious and calm. "You cannot mobilize a fleet of this size without council approval. There are procedures, protocols that must be followed." Young Ho looked at the centaurian steadily. "A child has been taken." "Our child. We're not asking for your permission. We're informing you of what we're going to do." "One child," another ambassador said. "A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish surrounded by a containment field. You would risk war over one individual?" "Yes," Young Ho said simply. "We would risk everything for any one of our children. That's who we are." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species found this position admirable. Others found it foolish. Most found it confusing. In many galactic cultures, the collective mattered more than the individual. Losing one member, even a young one, was sad but acceptable if it meant avoiding greater conflict. A few older species, however, began researching human history in their databases. What they found disturbed them deeply. The Zentari, one of the oldest species in the galaxy, brought up records of human wars. They watched footage of human soldiers fighting in terrible conditions to rescue captured comrades. They read about human parents who had searched for missing children for decades, never giving up. They studied human psychology and found a pattern that repeated across every human culture throughout history. Humans bonded intensely with their young. They would sacrifice themselves to protect children, even children that weren't biologically theirs. They had words for this instinct: maternal love, paternal love, protective instinct. But it went deeper than words. It was coded into their behavior at a fundamental level. One Zentari researcher brought her findings to her superior. "Sir, I think we need to warn the council. The humans aren't posturing. They're going to do exactly what they said." Back at the pirate base, Minho finished his meal. Thrix was still watching him with confusion. "Why aren't you crying?" the young pirate asked. Minho looked up at him. "Would crying help?" "No, but you're a child. You were taken from your parents. You should be afraid." "I am afraid," Minho admitted. "But my dad taught me that being afraid doesn't mean you have to act afraid. And besides, my parents will come for me. Or someone will. Humans don't leave their children behind." Thrix didn't know what to say to that. He left the room, troubled by the conversation. Captain Thexelar received the first response to his ransom demand. It wasn't from the child's parents. It was from the human military. The message was brief: "We know where you are. Return the child within 48 hours. "This is your only warning." Thexelar laughed when he read it. "They're bluffing. There's no way they found us this quickly. This base has been hidden for years." But his communications officer looked worried. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual readings on our long-range sensors. Multiple ships. Multiple ships, and they're all heading in our general direction." "Pirates?" Thexelar asked. "No, sir. The signatures are mixed. Military vessels, civilian ships, cargo haulers, even luxury craft. They're all human." Thexelar moved to the sensor station and looked at the display. His confidence wavered. Why would civilian ships be coming? What kind of species mobilized their entire population over one child? "How many ships?" he asked quietly. "At least 200, sir, and more keep appearing." For the first time since taking the human child, Captain Thexelar felt genuine fear. He had thought this would be a simple ransom situation. Take the child, get paid, return him, move on to the next target. But something was wrong. This wasn't how things were supposed to work. He went to check on the prisoner and found Minho sitting calmly, looking at drawings he had made with some charcoal from the ship's waste bins. The child had drawn his family, his home, and, surprisingly, the stars. "Are you well?" Thexelar asked, not sure why he was asking. Minho nodded. "Yes, sir. Thank you for the food and water." The politeness made Thexelar uncomfortable. "You should sleep. We will contact your parents soon." As he left, he heard Minho say quietly, "They're already coming." Thexelar stopped. "What did you say?" "My parents," Minho said. "And everyone else. They're coming for me. You should probably give me back before they arrive." The pirate captain said nothing and walked away. But the child's words echoed in his mind. The certainty in that young voice bothered him more than any threat. The transport ship moved slowly through the darkness of space, carrying farming supplies and 3 passengers to the outer colonies. Inside the small vessel, 8-year-old Minho pressed his face against the window, watching the stars drift past. His mother Jiwon sat beside him reading from a datapad, while his father Daeho checked their cargo in the back. "Mom, how much longer until we get there?" Minho asked. "About 6 more hours, sweetheart," Jiwon replied, brushing his dark hair from his eyes. "Try to rest." Minho nodded but couldn't look away from the window. This was his first time traveling through deep space, and everything fascinated him. The colonies, the stars, the endless black. His parents were starting a farm on a new world, and he would help them. He had read all about growing vegetables in artificial soil and tending to hydroponic gardens. Suddenly, red lights flashed throughout the cabin. An alarm blared harsh and loud. Daeho rushed from the cargo bay, his face tight with worry. "Strap in now," he shouted. Jiwon pulled Minho close and fastened their safety harnesses. Through the window, Minho saw a large, dark ship approaching. It looked nothing like the human vessels he had seen. This ship had sharp edges and strange symbols painted on its hull. The transport shuddered as something attached to the outer door. Daeho moved to the control panel, his hands shaking as he sent out a distress signal. "Pirate vessel, please leave us alone," he said into the communicator. "We're just farmers. We have nothing valuable." A harsh, clicking laugh came through the speakers. "All humans have value," a rough voice responded. "Prepare to be boarded," the airlock hissed open. 3 alien creatures stepped through, and Minho stared at them with wide eyes. They were tall, much taller than his father, with rough gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces were flat with multiple small eyes that glittered in the dim light. Each one carried a weapon that hummed with energy. "Don't move," the leader said, his voice translator making the words sound strange and mechanical. Daeho stepped in front of his family. "Take whatever you want. Just don't hurt anyone." The pirate leader, Captain Thexlar, looked around the small transport with disappointment. He had expected more. Humans were supposed to be wealthy newcomers to the galaxy, easy targets with valuable goods. But this ship contained only farming equipment and simple supplies. His eyes fell on Minho. "A human child," Thexlar said, stepping closer. "Interesting." "No," Jiwon said firmly, pulling Minho behind her. "You can't have him." "We can have anything we want," another pirate growled. Thexlar considered for a moment. He had heard that humans valued their young highly. Perhaps they would pay well to get this one back. It seemed like a simple plan. Take the child, demand payment, return him unharmed. Easy profit. "Take the boy," he ordered his crew. Daeho lunged forward, but one of the pirates struck him with the butt of their weapon. He fell to the floor, groaning. Jiwon screamed and tried to hold on to Minho, but the pirates were stronger. They pulled the boy away from his mother with their multiple arms. "Don't hurt them," Minho shouted, struggling in their grip. "Please don't hurt my parents." "We won't if they behave," Thexlar said. He looked at Daeho and Jiwon. "You will receive our demands soon. Pay and the child returns." Simple. They dragged Minho toward their ship. He looked back at his parents, trying to be brave, trying not to cry. His mother was sobbing, and his father was struggling to his feet, blood running down his forehead. The airlock sealed between them. Inside the pirate ship, Minho was placed in a small holding cell. It was cold and smelled strange, like metal and something sour. He sat on a hard bench and wrapped his arms around himself. The pirate ship detached from the transport and jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing into the vastness of space. Back on the transport, Jiwon helped Daeho to his feet. His injury wasn't serious, but her hands shook as she bandaged it. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. The silence felt heavy and terrible. Then Daeho moved to the control panel with grim determination. "Send the message," he said quietly. "Send it everywhere." Jiwon nodded and began typing rapidly. She sent their distress signal to the nearest human military outpost, to the colony they were traveling to every human vessel in range. The message was simple and clear. "Our son has been taken by pirates. His name is Minho. He is 8 years old. Please help us." The message traveled through space at the speed of light, bouncing from relay to relay. Within 3 hours, it reached the human military station at Outpost Gamma 9. Commander Taejin was reviewing supply reports when the message came through. His assistant, Lieutenant Hana, brought it to his attention immediately. She knew the protocol. Everyone in the human military knew the protocol. Taejin read the message once. His jaw tightened. He read it again and his hands curled into fists. He didn't need to think about what came next. The response was automatic, hardwired into every human regardless of rank or position. "Sound the alarm," he said quietly. "Activate Protocol Shepard." Lieutenant Hana's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't hesitate. She sent out the alert. Throughout the military station, soldiers stopped what they were doing. Pilots ran to their ships. Marines checked their weapons. Engineers prepared the fleet for immediate departure. But it wasn't just the military that responded. The message spread through the human communication networks like wildfire. Civilians received it. Colonists received it. Traders, miners, teachers, doctors, and families across 3 sectors received it. A human child had been taken. Ships began changing course. Mining vessels that were harvesting asteroids left their work and turned toward the last known location of the pirate ship. Trading ships abandoned their routes. Even luxury yachts carrying wealthy tourists altered their flight paths. No one ordered them to come. No one asked them to help. They simply did. Commander Tajian composed a message to send to the Intergalactic Council and to all known species communication networks. He kept it brief and direct. "A human child has been abducted by pirates. The species responsible are Vraxian. Return the child unharmed within 48 hours, or we will consider this an act of war against humanity." This is not a negotiation. This is a warning. He sent the message and began assembling his task force. As he worked, more ships continued to arrive at the staging point. Human vessels from colonies he had never even heard of were coming. They were all coming. Lieutenant Hana stood beside him, watching the fleet grow on the tactical display. "Sir, we have over 80 ships already, and more keep arriving," she reported. "Most of them are civilian vessels." "I know," Tajian said. "They're parents. They're siblings. They're people who understand what it means when one of our children needs us." Far away in his cold cell on the pirate ship, Minho sat quietly. He was frightened, but he remembered what his father had always told him. Humans take care of their own. Always. No matter what. He believed it. The galaxy was about to learn why.